Hey, what's going on, everybody? Samuel Akem here, and I'm back with another one. Today, we're going to be ranking the top conferences offensively in FCS football from 1 all the way to 13. We're looking at the points per game average for each conference collectively, and we're going to be ranking them 1 through 13. I think the rankings are pretty interesting. I think this gives us an idea of what conferences are putting up a lot of points and what conferences probably aren't scoring that much. But it also might give us an idea of what conferences are playing the better defenses and which conferences aren't. Right now, we're just looking at scoring, so we're going to be looking at the points per game total for each conference, and we're going to see where they all fall out. I think it might be interesting to see where some of these conferences fall, and some of them might be self-explanatory. I appreciate you guys for tapping into the channel. Please hit the subscribe button right now, hit the like button right now, leave a comment, and we will get straight into the video. So coming in at number 1, we have the Big Sky Conference at 28.28 points per game. The top 2 offensive teams in that conference were Montana State at 39.91 points per game and Portland State at 33.81 points per game. I don't think this was a surprise for me. I think the Big Sky is pretty good offensively. I think the Big Sky is pretty good as a conference in totality, but to see them at number 1 is no surprise. Montana State is known to put up points. You know, they do run the ball, so that can cause games to be faster and be less points put up. But Montana State seems to, especially when they play lower competition, they seem to really run the score up, putting up 40, 50 multiple times. So to see Montana State was no surprise. But Portland State at number 2 with 33.81 points per game was a surprise for me. I know that was a game on the schedule when Montana played them that people were looking at that like could potentially be a game that might catch them up because Portland State is a really good running team. So kind of surprised to see them so high on the list given where they finished in the Big Sky Conference. But no surprise really with Montana State. Surprised not to see Montana up there, but Montana is more of a defensive team. I would say they are able to put up points, and obviously they went to the Natty last year, but I don't think they're so much known as a team that's going to run up the score in any game. So yeah, Big Sky coming in at number 1. You guys let me know what you think about that. We will move on to the next conference. So a little surprise for me here at number 2, but coming in at number 2 with 28.09 points per game, we have the United Athletic Conference, with the top 2 teams in that conference being Austin Peay at 34.08, who actually won that conference, and then number 2 is Tarleton at 33.27 points per game. I think these averages are probably more indicative of, you know, less defense being played in the United Athletic Conference. I think, you know, they tend to put up a lot of points. Not a lot of great competition in that conference, not to down that conference or anything. They're playing good football there, but there are definitely better conferences in the FCS. And so to see them put up 28.09 points per game is not really a surprise to me. I think that's right around where they would be. You know, I think they were towards the lower end of the defensive chart. Also was Big Sky. You know, when I did my defensive averages video, Big Sky was number 11. I think the United Athletic Conference was like 10 or 12. So to see these guys be at top of the offensive points per game list, the United Athletic Conference be at the top, no surprise there. You guys let me know what you guys think about that, and we will move on to the next conference. So coming in at number 3 on our list is the Missouri Valley Conference at 27.31 points per game. The top 2 in that conference is no surprise at all. We got South Dakota State at 37.33 points per game, and we have North Dakota State at 38.13 points per game. Obviously, North Dakota State, I feel, you can say they had a down year, but they made it to the semifinals. They started the season off very slow, but they got it together. They made it into the playoffs and got it together late in the season, ended up making it to the semifinals, lost in an OT thriller against Montana. But I don't think there's any surprise that, you know, the MVFC was pretty high on this list, coming in at number 3. They put up a lot of points. They also play good defense. So, you know, they were pretty high on the defensive list, and they're also pretty high on the offensive list. I think that's pretty interesting. Part of that might be because, you know, the MVSC puts out a lot of playoff teams. I think they had 5 or 6 playoff teams in 2023. So, you know, no surprise to see the MVFC up there. They play a great brand of football, probably the best conference in FCS football. But yeah, you guys let me know what you think about that. The MVFC coming in at 3 with 27.31 points per game. We will move on to the next conference. Coming in at number 4 on our list is the Patriot League at 27.25 points per game. The top 2 teams in that conference were Holy Cross at 36.9 points per game and Fordham at 30.45 points per game. Now, Lafayette actually won that conference outright. They won it over Holy Cross. Holy Cross ended up second in the conference. I know Holy Cross is a really good offensive team. They had a quarterback who's a really good runner, their leading rusher, as well as their leading passer. I think he had about like 1,500 passing yards and like 1,200 rushing yards. Really good player. I believe he transferred up to the FBS level. But the Patriot League, they play good football. I believe they play some of those teams on the East Coast, some of those FBS teams on the East Coast during their non-conference schedule. But the Patriot League at 27.25 points per game. Fordham, a surprise for me. I know they weren't one of the better teams. I mean, I think they were like top 3 or 4 in the Patriot League, but they weren't one of the top 2 teams in the Patriot League, with Lafayette and Holy Cross finishing 1 and 2. Fordham was a decent team, a playoff team in 2022, had a down year in 2023, but they're number 2 in that conference with 30.45 points per game. You guys let me know what you guys think about that in the comments, and we will move on to number 5 on the list. Coming in at number 5 on our list is the CAA at 26.67 points per game. This conference fielded 15 teams in 2023. I believe they are fielding 16 teams in 2024, the biggest conference in FCS football. The top 2 teams in that conference were New Hampshire at 37.45 points per game. Max Brosmer, Dylan Lobby, not a big surprise for me there. You got Monmouth at the second top 2 team at 32.45 points per game. The CAA, I think, is a conference that plays really good football, probably top 3 conference in FCS football. I'd say the Big Sky, the CAA, and the Missouri Valley Football Conference are probably the 3 biggest conferences in FCS football, but really good football being played in the CAA. What do you guys think about them being at number 5? 26.67 points per game. New Hampshire seems to be really holding them up. I wasn't very hip to New Hampshire during the season. Obviously, I found out about Dylan Lobby during the season last year, but to see them be the highest scoring team in the CAA and not finish, too high in the conference. I think they finished like 5-6 or 6-5, or their record wasn't great. I know they were a playoff team in 2022, but in 2023 they had a down year. Even though they had really good talent in Max Brosmer and Dylan Lobby, I don't know what the rest of their team looked like. They probably weren't very great defensively, but really good team, really good offensive conference. They fall at number 5 on our list. You guys let me know what you think about that, and we will move on to the next conference. So coming in at number 6 on our list is our first HBCU conference, with the MEAC conference coming in at number 6 with 24.82 points per game. The top 2 teams in that conference were North Carolina Central University at 35.8 points per game, and Howard, the MEAC champion, at 28.5 points per game. North Carolina Central is a team that actually played in the playoffs in 2023. They played against Richmond, I believe, and they actually started off the game pretty well. They ended up losing they ended up allowing Richmond to come back in the second half and losing that game. But really good conference in the MEAC. They play some good football out there. Howard, interesting enough, they actually finished the season 6-6, but still won the MEAC conference. Smaller conference with only 6 teams in the conference. I don't know if they're adding to that. I think they're maintaining 6 teams in 2024, but they fall at number 6 on our list. You guys let me know what you guys think about that in the comments, and we will move on to the next conference. So the next team on our list is the Big South-OVC conference at 23.88 points per game. They come in at number 7 on our list. The top 2 teams in that conference were UT Martin at 31.72 points per game, and you got Bryant at 31.18 points per game. Now, I don't know if Bryant is I think Bryant isn't one of the better teams in the FCS. I don't see or hear about them a lot. I heard about them in basketball in the tournament last year, but football-wise, I don't hear about them a lot. I actually thought Bryant was in the NEC conference, surprisingly enough, but they are in the Big South. UT Martin at 31.72 points per game and Bryant at 31.18 points per game. The Big South OVC, really good football being played out there, but you guys let me know what you guys think about them on this list. We will move on to the next conference. So next on our list at number 8 is the Ivy League at 23.7625 points per game. The reason I had to break down the decimals that far is because the next team was very close in points per game average. The top 2 teams in that conference were Harvard at 31.8 points per game and Yale at 29.9 points per game. Now, if you guys watched my defensive video talking about the ranking the teams 1 through 13, you remember that the Ivy League was number 1 on that list defensively. Now, if you do remember also, the Ivy League only plays 10 games. They don't play postseason, so that might skew their averages a little bit, but they were the number 1 on the defensive chart. They are number 8 on the offensive chart. Not really a surprise there. If you're playing good defense, that means your offenses probably are scoring less. But Yale actually won that conference, so they're number 2. They're the number 2 team out of averages in this conference. Harvard being the number 1 team. I believe Harvard was the second place team in that conference, so no surprise there. The top 2 teams offensively are the top 2 teams in the conference. You guys let me know what you think about this. We will move on to number 9 on our list. So next on our list is the Pioneer League at 23.7622 points per game average. The top 2 teams in that conference were Davidson at 40 points per game, crazy, and Butler at 28.90 points per game. So really, Davidson is probably the averages wise, Davidson is probably the highest scoring team in the FCS division, subdivision, but really good teams in this conference. Drake actually won this conference, so a little surprising not to see them on this list. Davidson averaging 40 points a game is absolutely insane. The Pioneer League coming at number 9. They fielded one playoff team in 2023 being Drake. Drake got beat by North Dakota State in that first round. Yeah, so you guys let me know what you guys think about Pioneer League coming in at number 9 with 23.7622 points per game. We will move on to number 10. So coming in at number 10 on our list is the Southland Conference at 23.45 points per game. The top 2 in that conference are Incarnate Word at 25.27 points per game. Or no. Incarnate Word at 33.6 points per game, and Southeast Louisiana at 25.27 points per game. Now, this one was a little surprise to me because I mentioned this in my defensive video that I thought the Southland is a conference that usually puts up a lot of points. And now when you look at it, the Southland's probably one of the lowest scoring conferences in the FCS, which is surprising to me because when we played SELA, we put up 63 back in 2019, but they still put up like 20. But the game before that, they had played a high scoring game. Maybe the Southland, maybe things have changed in the Southland after a couple years, but I know that's a conference that usually had put up a lot of points, but not so much the case anymore. The team that actually won that conference was Nicholls State at 6-5. They had a win vacated or a win forfeited, but they ended up winning that conference, making the playoffs. I think they lost in the first round of the playoffs, but really interesting right there to see the Southland fall at 10. Personally, interesting for me. But you guys let me know what you guys think about that, and we will move on to number 11 on our list. So coming in at number 11 on our list is going to be the SWAC at 22.9 points per game, 90 points per game. The top 2 in that conference were FAMU at 30.61 points per game and Alabama A&M at 29.63 points per game. The SWAC, I don't think, sent any teams to the playoffs in 2023. I think FAMU played in 2022 or 2021, but I believe the team that won that conference was FAMU. They went 12-1 last season. Really good record for them. Disappointed for me that some of these HBCU teams don't play in the playoffs. I would love to see more HBCU teams play in the playoffs. I think it's really good competition. I think they play really good ball in the SWAC and MEAC conference. I would love to see them together, but obviously the Celebration Bowl is tradition, and it's amazing. They have a great turnout for the Celebration Bowl, and it makes a lot of money for HBCUs and their institutions. So I have no problem with that. But SWAC 22.9 points per game, 11th in this total list of rankings. You guys let me know what you guys think about that in the comments. We will move on to number 12 on our list. So at number 12 on our list, we have the Southern Conference, or SoCon as it's known, at 22.77 points per game. I think they play a lot of good defense in the Southern Conference. They might have some bad offenses out there too that might be skewing the numbers, but I think they play some pretty good defense in the SoCon. Furman, pretty good defensive team. I think Chattanooga was one of the better defensive teams in that conference. Western Carolina, probably one of the better defensive teams in that conference. The top 2 teams in that conference for scoring is Western Carolina at 37.54 points per game and Samford at 29 points per game. The team that actually won that conference was Furman. They made it to the semifinals of the FCS playoffs. They ended up losing to Montana, but they had probably one of the best defenses in the country last year in Furman. Interesting not to see them on here, given that they were a really good team last year, probably not putting up a lot of points. Very similar to Montana. Furman and Montana to me were pretty similar teams. Montana, obviously, I think was the better squad. They ended up winning the game, showing that they were the better squad. But Furman, really big defensive team, probably not going to put up a lot of points, but they're going to win in the end. I think the game before they played Montana, they beat Chattanooga, who's also in the SoCon Conference. They beat them by, I think it was a score of in the regular season, they beat them 17-14, but also in the playoffs, it wasn't a crazy scoring game either, but really probably good defense in the SoCon Conference. Not as high scoring offenses in the SoCon Conference. You guys let me know what you guys think about that, and we will move on to the final conference on our list, number 13. So the final team on our list at number 13 is the Northeast Conference, the NEC Conference, at 22.44 points per game. The top two in that conference were St. Francis at 27.2 points per game and Duquesne at 27.08 points per game. This is the only conference that doesn't have a team averaging at least 30 points per game in their top two. You know, the top two in that conference, St. Francis, Duquesne. Duquesne won that conference at 7-5. Interesting about the NEC, I believe this is a conference that plays a lot of non-conference games due to, you know, how their conference is set up. They play a lot of FBS non-conference games, a lot of probably paid games. I think Duquesne played like 2 or 3 last year in 2023. They ended up making the playoffs in 2023, lost pretty handedly in the playoffs, but decent team in 2020. Really good quarterback on this Duquesne squad. He's a really good player. I believe he was actually a Walter Payton Award finalist for that Duquesne squad. So they got a lot of talent out there, but I don't think the conference is very competitive in my personal opinion. They fall at number 13 on our list. I can't remember where they were on the defensive list as well, but I think they were pretty low on the defensive list as well. So not putting up a lot of points in the NEC conference. No surprise there. Personally, no surprise for me. You guys let me know what you guys think about that. That is going to conclude my rankings list from 1 through 13. Let me know what you guys think about that in the comments. Some surprises to me, but not so many surprises to me as well. Make sure you guys go watch my defensive points per game ranking video where I ranked 1 through 13, the FCS conferences 1 through 13 based on their points per game from last year. Let me know what you guys think about this. Let me know what you guys think about this type of content. Leave a like, subscribe to the channel, comment what you guys think, and I will see you guys next time. Thanks.